Subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so that you know when live we go. Hello everyone, how are you people? I hope you are still energetic, enthused. I hope that time has not taken its toll on you after 3 sessions. I hope you still have that spunk, that spark for learning. I'm stressing on this because the session that we are going to have now is extremely important. And human mind is more receptive of knowledge, information, ideas in a happy state. When you feel energetic. So if you feel dull and dizzy, I would suggest you pull yourself up and bring yourself to a state where you'll be more alert and more receptive. I presume many of you might be 1 year down into your preparation. Many of you might have just started. But almost all of you at some point in time must have been overwhelmed by this journey for civil services, isn't it? You might have felt difficult to cope with this seemingly vast syllabus. You know, when human beings first started sea voyage, they started to have long journey into the sea. That was one of the most challenging tasks to take at that point in time. Because at the end of the journey, you would not know whether you will be dead or alive. But that journey was made easier by development of advanced magnetic compass by mid of 19th century, compass that will give you accurate direction in mid of the ocean, and that will also work in ships made up of iron and steel. If you feel that you are surrounded by wide syllabus, vast syllabus, you need to get your compass. You cannot be swimming in mid of the ocean directionless. You know what will happen. You must also have read and studied about superconductors. Superconductors conduct electricity with almost 100% efficiency. Ordinarily, when a conductor conducts electricity, much of electrical energy is wasted as heat because the electrons that completes its journey through the conductor, it has millions and millions of collision with some nuclei, other electrons, and with every collision, there is loss of energy. That way, the efficiency of the system goes down. But superconductor works with almost 100% efficiency. Do you know why? Because in superconductor, there is no collision. Do you know why? Because in superconductor, electron finds its path by turning and tilting and curving and curling, going in a circuitous manner, bypassing all the hurdles, all the barriers. It finds a path which is hurdle-free. And it is able to find that path because it is guided by magnetic field. Magnetic field helps the electron seize the path, which is free of any collision. What I'm trying to bring home the idea, when you are on a journey full of hurdles, full of collision, full of barriers, you need to have a guided motion, just like the guided movement that electrons have in a superconductor. You need to find your compass. Now listen to me very, very carefully. The compass for this civil service journey, what is that? There are various components in this. The first component of your compass is this, your syllabus. The exam that you're preparing for has a syllabus. Everything under the sun is not the syllabus. There is a defined syllabus. And trust me, UPSC follows its syllabus very, very strictly. Sometimes you will find topics mentioned in the syllabus sequentially, and then you will see that UPSC has been asking questions on them year after year in that very sequence. You have to be very, very close to your syllabus in your journey for civil services. Syllabus not only teaches you what you have to prepare, syllabus also has other functions. Syllabus teaches you how to construct your notes, how to present your answer, about which we'll talk later in the session. The second component of your compass are mains previous year's questions. Or if you're preparing for prelims previous year's questions. The previous year's questions of civil services is extremely important. The exam that happened last week was not a passing event for you. It was a very important event from which you have to churn out important lesson for your journey for civil services. See, syllabus will tell you what topics you have to focus on. But when you prepare that topic, what has to be your orientation, which dimension you have to cover, how you have to do interlinking of that topic with other topics of the syllabus and other topics of other subjects. That is taught to you by the mains question paper. When you are preparing for an exam, you have to go through the question paper of that exam. Suppose you are preparing for, let's say, RBI or SEBI or any other bank exam. Then you read almost the same basic books and the same newspaper as you do otherwise, but you focus differently. Your orientation is different. You focus more on facts and numbers. If you're preparing for state services, you read the same basic books as you would be reading if you prepare for civil services. You will read Lakshmikant, Spectrum, Bipin Chandra, all the same basic books you will read the same newspaper. But your orientation will be different. You will focus on issues. They ask more issues, the questions are more direct, and they ask microscopic issues as well. So the coverage is more broad rather than deep. If you are preparing for civil services, you read the same book, you read the same newspaper. But your orientation is different here. The questions are not direct. The questions are very, very analytical. So you have to focus on analysis of the issue. You have to connect the dots. You have to know how to link one topic of this paper with other topics, and also how to link one topic of GS4 with maybe society of GS1, with maybe social justice of GS2. That interlinking is important. When you read newspaper, you have to learn how to link any event of the past from world history to the present happenings in international relation. Who will teach you that? That how you have to go about preparing a topic. Because syllabus will give you a list of topics. It will not tell you that you have to do interlinking, but you have to understand that interlinking of topics is important for this exam. Who will teach you? That will be taught to you by mains questions of previous years. And that is the purpose why we are having this session. My job mostly, the time that I'm going to spend with you, 1 hour or so, is to bring this to your attention, into your imagination, kind of embed it into your conscience, that previous year's mains question are very important. And I'll ride you through this year's mains question as well. Be attentive, be receptive. What we're talking is extremely important. The third component of the compass, your guide, your magnetic field that will give you path towards the journey for civil service, free of collision, less barriers. The third component is mapping current affairs with your syllabus. You understand that civil services exam has become more current affair oriented, more so for GS1, 2, and 3, and to a lesser degree for GS4. But there are many questions in GS4 as well, which has roots in current affairs. So you need to do this mapping. When you open up a newspaper and you read news, you see news regarding hate. You see read news regarding violence, intolerance. You see what happened in US Capitol Hill. When you read newspaper, you see what's happening in Mediterranean Sea, what's happening in Azerbaijan, Armenia. What is the role of Russia at international level? What role India is playing? Everything that has to be linked with the syllabus and backwards. When you have a topic in syllabus, for example, attitude, very important topic. You have persuasion, you have emotional intelligence. Now, when you take these 3 topics and then you sit down and think how you can have application of these 3 topics from the happenings of current affairs. If you can do this backward and forward linkages of current affairs with syllabus, then you are on the right path. You are having a guided motion, just like electrons have in superconductors. Your efficiency will go high. These 3 will solve most of your challenges in time and space. These 3 things will tell you what to read, how to read. But in mains examination, there's a temporal problem. The pressure of time is very high, very, very high. In mains examination, you have to reproduce in an orderly manner what you have learned and imbibed in time limit. Sometime what would happen, you will write good answers, but you will not complete the paper. Sometime you will complete the paper, your answer will be very average. But breaking that barrier of average marks in mains is a challenge. So you have to do a high performance in time. For that, you have to clinch on with the 4th component of your compass, which is called as answer writing. Answer writing is a different ball game altogether. And I will discuss this. I'll take few questions of this year mains exam, and I'll show you what are the specific demands of answer writing. After you have covered the topics, after you have your basic knowledge, after you have your examples, after you have done the syllabus linking with current affairs, you are prepared. Even after that, there's a challenge remain of answer writing, presenting your idea in a structured manner, meeting the demand of the paper, and doing that in time limit. In next 1 hour or so, my job is to convince you that each and every question that came in mains of GS4 this year is linked, number one, with the syllabus, number two, with the previous mains years, previous questions that were asked in the previous mains. Number three, many of them had roots in current affairs. So do not think that this paper is bereft of current affair flavor. And then I will take up few questions from this year paper and show you how to go about writing the answer. That will complete all the component of your compass. This is your compass. If you feel overwhelmed, if you feel not confident of your preparation, if you do not know in which direction you are moving, what you have to do at any point in time, take out this compass and check your direction. You have to check four things. Number one, see if you know the syllabus. See that you can write, reproduce much of the topics, subtopics mentioned in the syllabus. For example, if I tell you right now, if you have to check whether you are moving in the right direction, and that will decide whether you will complete your civil service journey on time. What you have to do, you sit down, take a piece of paper and see whether you are able to write the syllabus topic and subtopic broadly, if not all of them, but the broad topics, do you know or not? Do you know in the beginning, the topic human values has been mentioned? Do you know this is a very important topic, attitude, aptitude? Do you know there is persuasion, social influence? Do you know there is good governance, ethical governance? Do you know international relation is part of your syllabus? Do you know these things or not? That is step number one. If you know these things, very good. Then you take step number two. You see what kind of question has been asked in previous years. Suppose I take a topic, emotional intelligence. You should be aware what UPSC is asking regarding this topic. They have asked about components of emotional intelligence. They have asked how emotional intelligence can be used to develop positive attitude. They have asked how emotional intelligence can be used in public administration. Do you know what kind of question has been asked regarding the topic attitude? They have asked about attitude formation several times. They have asked how you can change attitude of people. They have asked how you will change attitude of elderlies who are not ready to change their traditional values, which are not in coherence with the morality standard that we have presently. If you are not aware of what kind of questions have been asked, then you are swimming directionless in mid of the ocean. When the journey is very arduous, long, tough, you have to have guided movement. If you think that everything under the sun has to be covered and you stretch up your arms and try to cover every note, this notes, that note, this question, test series, that test series, and you go on swimming directionlessly, that is not going to work. You have to take out your compass and check your direction. If you know these two things very well, go ahead, you open up the newspaper of today, whichever day you feel like checking your direction, and see the broad news that have been covered in the newspaper, how you can relate that with your syllabus. That is extremely important. Extremely important. Suppose I tell you what are the ethical issues involved in enacting the farm laws recently in the form of ordinance, and then the protests that are happening subsequently. If you can write the ethical issues in 3 to 4 minutes, good. If you can frame a full-fledged question on this, you can write the answer to that in 7 minutes, good. And backward linkage. You take out certain topics, important, broad topics, good governance, ethical governance, ethics in international relations, social influence and persuasion, human values, attitude, emotional intelligence, aptitude. Take out few topics and see how you can apply these topics related to happenings in the current affairs. You can do this for all the GS papers. If you're able to use persuasion and social influence for certain problems that you see in the newspaper, if you can apply international ethics, certain philosophies related to that, certain moral principles to the current happenings, good. If you're not able to do that, then there is some problem. You have to reform, make course correction, and do improvement. If you're able to do these three things, then comes the fourth thing. All of it, if you do so much, everything will be a waste if you do not do this much more. The challenge is that you may be a very knowledgeable person, having high aptitude for civil services, but you have to show that. That has to be reflected in the paper, and you have time constraint. In the end, after preparing everything, gaining the knowledge, everything, it will be a time game. You have to deliver on time, within the stipulated time. At the end, it is going to be a time game. So you have to practice this as well. So either if you have progressed into your preparation, you will be in that position to frame a question for yourself. If not, then pick up a question from somewhere and see if you are able to write that within time limit. For ethics paper, 150 words, you have to take 7 minutes and see if you're able to do that or not. If not, then everything is at the end is going to become a waste. If you are able to do these 4 things, you are moving in the right direction. And this is your compass. This is your magnetic field that will give you a hurdle-less, collision-less movement towards your journey. All right. Now I'm going to focus on this. Using this compass, I will take you on a small journey, ride you through mains paper of this year. We'll take up question after question. I'll touch on each and every question. And then I'll show you how those questions are related with syllabus. What is the linkage with previous year's question? If there is a linkage with current affair, and then I'll teach you this ball game also, how to go about writing answer to the questions. It requires a different skill, not just the knowledge. All right, you people ready? Okay. This is question number 1 of your 2020 mains paper. I'll read out the question aloud for you. I hope that you have gone through the question paper. If you have not, even then, don't worry. I'll read it for you. The question is this. Discuss the role of ethics and values in enhancing the following 3 major components of comprehensive national power. And they have given the components of comprehensive national power, which is human capital, soft power, and social harmony. And they have given the components of soft power also in the form of culture and policies. Discuss the role of ethics and values in certain things. Those certain things are human capital, soft power, social harmony. If you make them, if you touch on all these 3 things, if you improve human capital, if you improve the soft power regarding culture and policies, if you make the policies suitable for human development, and you also reach towards this end of social harmony. Basically, if you rephrase it, if I have to say the same thing, but not using too many words, if I have to be more succinct, I will say like this. Explain how ethics contributes to social and human well-being. Can we rephrase it like this? Basically, social and human well-beings are related with soft power, human capital, and social harmony. Is it not right? This is a question from 2016 mains paper. This is a question of 2020 mains paper. But it's the same thing in a roundabout manner. If you look into the syllabus, in the beginning of the syllabus, the first topic that you have is this, ethics and human interface. I hope you have gone through your syllabus. This is the first topic of your syllabus. Within that, you have consequence of ethics in human action. Consequence of ethics in human action. This is the first topic of your syllabus. This is the first question of 2016 mains paper. This is the first question of 2020 mains paper. Can you relate things? If yes, you can. You are learning pretty damn fast. See, this is the second question of your 2020 mains paper. The question is this: education is not an injunction. It is an effective and pervasive tool for all-round development of an individual and social transformation. This is a contextual statement. The real question comes after this. Examine the new education policy 2020 in the light of above statement. If you see your syllabus, in the first topic, you have ethics and human interface. Within that, you have a subtopic, educational institutions in inculcating values, the role of educational institutions. When in the syllabus it's mentioned role of educational institutions in inculcating values, education becomes very important part of your syllabus. And question time and again have been asked on education. This time around, they have asked specifically on new education policy 2020. Now here's the thing. UPSC aligns its question with important flagship programs of Government of India. You will observe this across GS paper. You will also observe this in essay. You will also observe this in interview. If you go through previous year's paper, you will find that in 2016, UPSC has asked about Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. That was a major program that government was running at that point in time. In 2019, you have question on Right to Information Act. Actually, on Right to Information Act, UPSC has asked multiple times. And this was also a landmark step taken by Government of India back in 2005. But it was in news, it was an important initiative, question keep coming up like this. This is where I was talking about the third component of your compass. You have to do linking of current affairs with your syllabus. Syllabus will tell you role of educational institutions. Syllabus will tell you importance of education that you can see. But what exactly is going to come? That because the nature of exam has become such that it has become current affair oriented. And I've told you there will be many questions in this paper as well that will have roots in current affairs. The last education policy we had was of 1986. After 33 years, a new education policy came. It was very much in news all over the newspaper. And it was made after wide public consultation. It was one of the major things government was involved in last 2 years, this ministry, HRD ministry. So it was an important thing, could have been related like this. Okay. Come to the third question. Hatred is destructive of a person's wisdom and conscience that can poison a nation's spirit. Do you agree with this view? Justify your answer. My first job is to tell you, explain to you that this question is from your syllabus. Do not think that everything under the sun is your syllabus. That is a wrong notion people carry. You have to stick with your syllabus. In syllabus, you'll find a topic, attitude. The first thing about attitude is the content. When you do attitude, you do content of attitude. Attitude is made up of what? Values. Values is made up of what? Beliefs and emotions. This you do as part of your preparation. If you have attended the class, you would know this. If you have not progressed to that extent in your preparation, when you reach to that point, you will cover this. This is very basic. Emotions and beliefs make your values. Value makes your attitude. When you do attitude, you do emotion. When you do emotion, you do negative emotion, positive emotion. When you do negative emotion, you do all sort of negative emotions. Like one given in the question, hate. Like asked previously, anger. Like asked previously, anger and intolerance. Like the one that we asked in the test series, greed. See, it is very basic that you study in as part of theory of this paper. Everything begins from emotion. Charles Darwin has said that emotion is the basis of human survival. Everything begins in emotion. Then that becomes your value. That becomes your attitude. From attitude comes your behavior. If there is a negative emotion, behavior will be negative. If you have a negative emotion like anger, intolerance, that will develop hate towards others. That lead to behavior, which is discrimination. And that can go all the way up to the level of genocide. If the negative emotion is extreme, the negative behavior will also be extreme. This linkage you are taught. So how negative emotion leads to negative behavior, you know that very well. So whichever negative emotion is given to you, you can easily tell how that will destroy your wisdom, your conscience, and drive you towards negative behavior. UPSC has asked this question in 2016. Anger is a harmful negative emotion. It is injurious to both personal life and work life. Then the question was how it leads to negative emotion and undesirable behavior. Very basic. You are taught this, how negative emotion leads to behavior, that is part of your syllabus, and directly they ask this. See, in 2018, UPSC asked this question. What does this quotation mean to you? This is a quotation of Mahatma Gandhi. Anger and intolerance are enemies of correct understanding. Anger and intolerance, enemies of correct understanding. Here they are saying hatred is destructive of person's wisdom. Enemy of correct understanding, destructive of person's wisdom. It's the same thing. Meaning how it destroys your objectivity. When you are not able to think correctly, how you will be biased, how you will start stereotyping, how you will start discriminating. That is what it is. So the whole phenomena is taught to you. Now, I am explaining you that the questions are based on syllabus. It is linked with the previous year's question paper, and it is linked with current affair. Now, this is also a kind of test for us. If I know this, I must be able to deliver on this. I must be able to coach you well. And in our mains test series, we framed a question on negative emotion of greed. And the question is same, discuss how it leads to negative emotion and undesirable behavior. So if you do this question, if you do previous year's question, there will be no problem in tackling the question that came in this year mains. Coming to the fourth question of the paper. What are the main component of emotional intelligence? Can they be learned? See, where we'll begin? We'll begin from the syllabus. In the syllabus, there is a very important topic, all encompassing. It has application in other topics as well. Emotional intelligence has been mentioned in the syllabus very, very clearly. So emotional intelligence has been asked multiple times. What are the components of, they have asked the application of EI in administration. They have asked how will you use emotional intelligence in such a situation? How will you use emotional intelligence for persuasion and this and that and that and this? Lots of time question has been asked. Let me take this example of this question of 2013. By the way, I am sure you would be aware that this paper began in 2013. So this year mains was the 8th time UPSC conducted exam of this paper. So you have 8 mains paper with you. Going through 8 main paper will not be a difficult task if you spread it over the period of time. If you are attempting mains of next year, I would say that you must be thorough with these 8 mains paper. This question from 2013, they asked, what is emotional intelligence and how can it be developed in people? They're asking how it can be developed, meaning it can be developed. This time they asked, can they be learned? Or just to change the choice of word, can it be developed? Of course, it can be developed. They have asked before how it can be developed, so it can be developed. And then, but you will not just write yes as the answer. Can they be learned? Yes, they can be learned. That will not fetch you marks. You'll have to tell how they can be learned. So if you have done this question, you would know this already, how it can be developed in people. The same thing, the question is exactly the same, okay? In our mains test series, we had this question, can emotional intelligence be developed in the people? Same thing, same. Just the choice of word is different. The question essentially remains the same. So this compass is going to work for you much more for ethics paper. You have to sync your preparation with previous year's question paper. These are gold mines for you. No book can teach you so much as the previous year's question paper will teach you. Coming to the next question, what teachings of Buddha are most relevant today and why? Is it with the syllabus? Of course, yes. If you look in the syllabus, there's a topic, contribution of moral thinkers and philosophers from India and the world. You have to cover this as part of your preparation. And Buddha is where the moral thinkers began in India. Before that, we have Vedas and Vedantas. We had philosophical books. But if you talk about particular thinkers, it is this time, around this time, Buddha, Mahavira, Goshalas, and others, that moral thinkers began. When you do this topic, contribution of moral thinkers and philosophers in India, this is where you begin your preparation. So this is not a surprise for you. This is very basic. If you do your preparation well, if you do your syllabus, you'll be able to handle this question. UPSC has asked about moral thinkers and philosophers. For example, UPSC has asked about a philosopher that came later, Kautilya. UPSC keep on asking, we will do a question on Swami Vivekananda. UPSC keep on asking about Mahatma Gandhi. UPSC also has asked about Tirukkural. It is a Tamil literature. It's basically collection of couplets, but it has a lot of ethical teachings in this. In our test series, we asked question on Jainism. Jainism, Buddhism, when you do it together. Not a problem. Coming to the next question. This question is, the will to power exist. This is a very important question. Very, very important. This question is actually the reason why this paper has been added in civil services. In civil services, ethics paper has been added because everything was tried out. You have Prevention of Corruption Act, Anti-Corruption Squad was strengthened, judiciary was strengthened, everything was done, but corruption in bureaucracy was simply not stopping. So it was thought that an ethics paper must be introduced. With power, there's a tendency to get corrupt. Look at this question. The will to power exists. There is no denying this. But it can be tamed and be guided by what? Number one, rationality. And number two, moral principles of moral duty or morality. Meaning everyone wants to get power. Everybody aspires power. We all at certain level. But that power, that tendency to become powerful has to be tamed. That has to be monitored by one, rationality, and two, morality, right? That is the idea, okay? But this question has been asked in the context of international relation. The trailing part of the question is, examine this statement in the context of international relations. In the syllabus, there is international relation mentioned, ethical issues in international relations and funding, okay? So you do this as part of your international relation, but then there's an integration of other part of the syllabus as well. UPSC has asked a question on this very theme multiple times, not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, multiple times, just to show you a little. This is a question that was asked in 2013. Nearly all men can withstand adversity. But if you want to test a man's character, give him power. Power, character. Power, morality. This will keep on coming up. Power cannot be given to a person without the responsibility. And responsibility comes both internal and external. Externally, the responsibility comes from accountability, from the law, legislation. Internally, it comes from your own morality. And this paper is moreover about morality. So this theme they will keep on asking this in part A, in case study, multiple times. See this question. There is a heavy ethical responsibility. On whom? On public servants, because they occupy position of power, handle huge amount of public funds, and their decisions have wide-ranging impact on society. What steps you have taken to improve your ethical competence? What is ethical competence? Imbibing ethical principles and applying that in your behavior. That is what ethical competence is. Power, ethical competence. It will keep, I can go on and on. And I can go hours and hours on this, showing you how this theme has been asked in roundabout way again and again in the civil service examination. From psychological perspective, if you think, human beings tend to repeat things that they like. And behind framing of these questions, there are human beings. If they think that certain thing is important for the society, for economy, for the nation as a whole, they will keep on asking that. You have to figure out what is important for UPSC. You must have observed this already, even in the initial stage of your preparation, that UPSC keep on asking about women issues. They will give you an essay, they will give you in society, they will give you in social justice, they will give you in paper 4. They will also give you in paper 3 in economy. They will give you again and again. They will ask you again in the interview, right? UPSC ask again and again on the ideas of Mahatma Gandhi. Now, just understand this. Who is going to tell you what is important for UPSC? That is going to be taught to you by previous year's question paper. Okay? And this we have asked, this is a theme that we know is an important theme for exam. This has been asked in our test series. It was there, taught to you in lecture, was given to you in notes, again tested in the form of mains test series. Coming to the next question, distinguish between laws and rules. This is a very important question. It seems to be very simple. Simple questions sometimes are deceptive. I'll teach you in a short while. Once I start giving you full-fledged answer to the questions, I'll teach you this thing. When question seems to be very simple, it is not easy to score marks in them, because you have to touch upon the core area of the subject. If you write something very general, just like a class 10 student will write, you will not get marks. Suppose if you give this question to class 10 student, difference between rule and law, he will write something. Right? He will write something. But if you write the same thing, you're not going to get marks here. So I will give you a detailed answer for this. So I'm not discussing this because that will be redundant. In a short time, just bear with me. I will pick this and discuss elaborately. Next question is, a positive attitude is considered to be an essential characteristic of a civil servant who is often required to function under extreme stress. This is a contextual statement. The question is, what contributes to a positive attitude in a person? This is a basic question. See, in your syllabus, you have attitude mentioned, and then content of attitude, structure of attitude, function of attitude, and its influence and relation with thought and behavior, everything. You have to do that. It is a basic, very basic, easy breezy kind of question. And UPSC has asked this kind of question multiple times. For example, see this question of 2014. Just focus on what is highlighted in bold. What factors affect the formation of a person's attitude? Attitude formation is a common theme, very common theme, because behavior is directly linked with attitude. So if you want to change behavior, you have to change attitude. UPSC will keep on asking this again and again and again and again. See this question of 2016. Can you see? How can such undesirable attitudes be changed? So how can attitude be changed? That is asked again and again. This is a common question that can be easily tackled. If you see, this is a case study from 2016 paper, I guess, 2015. The question is, how would you manage and mold matriarchic attitude of the village elders? The entire ethics paper is about ethical behavior. Behavior is directly linked with attitude. You want to change behavior, you have to change attitude. So this question of how will you change attitude? How will you make develop positive attitude on people, factors which influence attitude of people, very common thing in this paper. The next question is, what are the main factors for gender inequality? I told you, UPSC love this theme. Across GS paper, in essay, in interview, in all the stages, even in prelims. What are the factors? What are the main factors responsible for gender inequality in India? Discuss the contribution of Savitri Bai Phule in this regard. She was in news recently, actually. But it is very highly possible that you are done with your preparation. You will not know exactly the contribution of Savitri Bai Phule. It is likely, very, very likely. But in order to handle this kind of question, I will discuss the answer to this question in detail in a short while. But you don't have to be afraid. Savitri Bai Phule must have done logical things. What a philosopher, a social reformer will do. So even if you do not know exactly her contribution, still you can write in a roundabout way. You will not stray too away from her contribution. Even though you will not get very high marks, but you will be easily able to bag above average marks. So this is another question that I'm going to take up in a short while. So I'll not discuss it. I'll take it up in detail. Just showing you, giving you the feeling, bringing it into your imagination that, man, you have to clinch on previous year's paper. You have to be very close to your syllabus while your preparation. This question, the current internet expansion has instilled a different set of cultural values, which are often in conflict with traditional values. Conflict with traditional values. It's a very common thing, very, very common thing. You might have been facing this in your home as well. Whenever there is a generational gap, the value, how do you imbibe value? Through socialization. In the process of socialization from your family, from schooling, and from other social institutions, you imbibe values that change over that period of time. Whenever there's a generational gap, there are changing values, and then there is value conflict. This issue of value conflict is very common. There could be value conflict in various domains. For example, UPSC has asked before, the value conflict in the regard of environmental values and economic values. It's a big issue. Should you be conserving environment by compromising the efficiency of economy, or should you be going the other way around? Have you heard of PETA? People's Ethical Treatment, People for Ethical Treatment of Animals. Now their value system will be very different. People who are celebrating Jallikattu, their value system would be a little different. There will obviously be value conflict. This conflict is a great, great challenge for any government, any administration to manage. There could be value conflict with respect to food habits. Somebody will like veg food, non-veg food, somebody will not. And there are social groups in society who have different demands with different value system. So value conflict is one of the major job, their resolution is one of the major job of government. And that is what good governance and ethical governance is based on. Suppose there is a mining to happen, and then there are rights of tribals which are being impinged upon. There is a value conflict there, right? Government deals with value conflict every now and then in various other ways. Value conflict and how to resolve that is one of the important themes that you have to cover. That is part of attitude. In the content of attitude, you do values. When you do values, you also do value conflict. That is being taught to you. And this has been covered in our lectures, in our classes. Now, the thing is that this is a common theme, and value conflict can occur in various ways. For example, in our question, in our mains test series, we gave this question. Do you think the ethical values need to be revisited? Value transformation happens because of value conflict. To resolve value conflict, one of the way is to change your value so that there is no conflict. The other way is to persuade people to come to a common ground, right? So value conflict in various ways have been asked by UPSC, have been asked by us. It was taught to you in the class. Not a major surprise. The next question is condemn none. This is a quotation of Swami Vivekananda. Condemn none. If you can stretch out a helping hand, do so. If not, fold your hands, bless your brothers, and let them go. See, by now you must have developed this minimum amount of information, knowledge, intelligence. If I ask you to condense this entire statement into one value, or one word, or one phrase, will you be able to do that? When you read this statement, what occurs into your mind? What is Swami Vivekananda trying you to teach? Which value? Think about it, take a minute, no problem. Can you run horses of your mind? I'll help you. See, first of all, this is a quotation of Swami Vivekananda. Second of all, we also asked about Swami Vivekananda. See, this is the question from our mains test series. Discuss the relevance of teachings of Swami Vivekananda in present time in developing peace and tolerance. The teaching of Swami Vivekananda is mostly tolerance. If you look in the syllabus, tolerance has been mentioned in your syllabus as part of aptitude and foundational values of civil services. Tolerance is there in your syllabus, number one. So you have to develop tolerance. If you condense this entire statement that you have to have your hand folded and let your brothers go, that is what? That means that you are not getting agitated with what others are doing. You are being tolerant towards others. You do something, you wanted others to have, they have the value that you have, the attitude that you have, the way they behave as you behave, you wanted all of that. But if it is not happening, you let go. That is what tolerance is. Tolerance is allowing others to do what they want to do, even if you do not agree with them. And Swami Vivekananda went a step ahead. He said that you don't have to tolerate others, you have to embrace them. Generally, what happens is if people are doing what you don't want, you ignore them. Swami Vivekananda said that is not enough. Tolerance is not enough. You have to positively embrace them, right? Now, the third thing is this question is related with current affairs. Do you know that Swami Vivekananda went to Chicago? He gave a brilliant speech in the religious parliament that happened in Chicago. When? Do you know? 1893. In 2018, we celebrated 125 years of that incident. Okay, but that happened in September. Perhaps the question for that year was made already. It was expected in 2019 mains to come, but perhaps UPSC saved this question, and this came in 2020 mains. This question was expected, highly expected. It came late, nevertheless, it came. This was having its root in the current affair. We knew this. We framed a question on Swami Vivekananda based on tolerance, and they gave a quotation on tolerance. So it is not a rocket science to guess, to anticipate what's coming. If you see the next question, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. This is a quotation of Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi will appear every year in most of the papers of UPSC. The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. Just like the previous statement, can you think of one word or one phrase for this quotation? If you want to condense this line into one word, one value, one phrase, what will that be? The previous quotation was on tolerance. This quotation is on what? See, quotation any quotation UPSC can give, but the job that you have to do is relate that with your syllabus. In syllabus, you'll do certain things. If you can make that relation quickly in the exam hall, your content is ready on that topic. And all you have to do is organize that mentally and put it down on the paper. This can be condensed down to one word. That word will be charity. Charity. That is part of your syllabus. That is covered under human values. In ethics and human interface, you study human values as well, right? That can also be condensed to one phrase, spirit of service. If you see in 2013, UPSC asked a question, what do you understand by the following in the context of public services? They gave 5, 6 things to be addressed. One of that was a spirit of service. Can you see? Spirit of service was asked in 2013. Spirit of service was asked again in 2017. Can you see? In 2015, UPSC asked a similar question. Social values are more important than economic values. In social values, what are the values? There will be, of course, various values in social values. Charity, spirit of service will be one of them. Tolerance will be another. Empathy, compassion will be another. There will be various values. But the focus is on social values. The focus is on integrating yourself as a social creature. This paper is all about that, to develop empathy, compassion, to develop spirit of services. It's a common theme, very, very common theme. In our mains test series, we asked this. To comment on Nishkama Karma. I don't know how many of you are aware of Nishkama Karma. It's a philosophy mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. Nishkama Karma means selfless service. And it is very important. For civil servants, it's important for you as a citizen that you do charity, you do selfless service, you have a spirit of service in you. It's a common thing. Not a surprise. The next question is, this is the last question of part A. After this, I'll start showing you a full-fledged answer to some of the questions. A system of morality which is based on relative emotional value. Relative emotional values is a mere illusion, a thorough, vulgar conception, which has nothing sound in it, has nothing true. You understand? A system of morality. This is what we want in ethics paper. We have to develop a system of morality that everyone will adhere to. Then we have to adopt persuasive technique to change the attitude of people, that people adopt values and adhere to the system of morality so that there is peace and human well-being. This is the aim. This is the aim of human existence, a system of morality. But if the system of morality is based on relative emotional value, it's an illusion, it's a vulgar idea. It has nothing true in it. Who says that? Socrates. This is a quotation of Socrates, meaning effectively what he is saying, the morality is not to be based on emotion. That is what he is saying. But then what it has to be based on? The quotation is not saying that. There are only two things that anything can be based on. Number one, emotion. Number two, reason. Yes. So if the quotation is saying that system of morality is not to be based on emotion, then what effectively it is saying is it has to be based on reason. Okay. Is it part of syllabus? Yes, yes, yes. Of course, yes. You do contribution of moral thinkers and philosophers from India and the world. When you do philosophers and moral thinkers from the world, Socrates is where you begin. Before Socrates, we had few moral thinkers, but he is the major one from where you begin. And then you do Plato and Aristotle, and then you go to Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, and blah, blah, blah. But here is where you begin. So you study Socrates, you know his ideas very well. He asked to reason. He goaded people to ask questions. He exhorted people to ask questions with powerful people. If you do Socrates, you are aware of his idea. This is pretty basic thing. That morality is not to be based on emotion. It has to be based on reason. Pretty basic. See, this is the question that we asked in our mains test series. The question is what? The question is, in making a decision, obviously it's an ethics paper, so it is ethical decision. Which of the two, emotions or reason, must take precedence? So in this question, you clearly understand and you know how to tackle whether a decision has to be based on emotion or reason, or the mix of both. Okay. So it's a common theme. It's a common old question, just as old as which has to be followed, law or ethics? Which has to be followed, emotion or reason? Basic question, not a surprise. So far, I hope you are convinced that if you follow the syllabus, if you go through previous year's question, if you do current affair mapping, and if you do answer writing practice, this long, arduous journey that seems to be endless, this syllabus that seems to be wide, if you have your compass ready with you, you will complete your journey on time. That was my job, and I can stop at this point. But I'll take you further, and I will deal with the last component of the compass, which is answer writing. I'll take up this question first. Pay attention. Distinguish between laws and rules. Discuss the role of ethics in formulating them. Laws and rules. First of all, I would like to bring your attention to the fact that this is part of your syllabus. This has been wrongly put here. In the syllabus, if you see, there are 4 things mentioned: laws, rules, regulations, and conscience as source of ethical guidance. Laws and rules are mentioned sequentially. And here they have asked about laws and rules. You can open up the syllabus right now and check laws, rules, regulations, conscience as source of ethical guidance. Can you find? I'll take up the questions once I'm done. I'll give you half an hour for asking as many questions as you can. After that, if you have more questions, I'll stay. But right now, let me finish in one breath, and then I'll take up the question. I'll take all your questions. I'm here. If you want me to be here till evening, I'll be here. Don't worry. The first thing you need to understand is it is from your syllabus direct, not in an oblique, circuitous manner. It is direct. In the syllabus, it is directly mentioned laws, rules, regulations, conscience as source of ethical guidance, and they're asking about laws and rules. So this is not something grave that they have done. This is something expected. You must have anticipated this, okay? But since it is direct, the question also becomes very simple. And I told you, when the question is very simple, it is not an easy thing to score in that question. In answer writing, there are various things, and you must have learned many, you will learn many. I will not touch on each and every aspect of answer writing, but I will touch on the most important thing that most of us, not 90, not 95, 99% of us miss on. When you write the answer from school, college, you know that you have to answer the question, meaning you have to write what has been asked. So for that, understanding of question is important. You cannot just keep on writing what you know. First thing is answer what has been asked. That comes with practice. And then you know that you have to structure your answer, write an introduction, body, conclusion. You have to make it legible. You have to present it well, so hence and so forth. These are the basics which you must know already, or eventually you will learn. But the thing that I want to teach you here is the aspect of answer writing has 2 parts. This will work in any GS paper. One is the peripheral thing. For example, if you give laws and rules to distinguish between these 2 to anybody, everybody will write something. If you give it to a class 10 student, he will write something. If you give to a humanities student, he will write something. If you give to an engineering student, he will write something. Generalistically, you can write many things on these. For example, laws are legislated by a legislative body. They are more formal. Rules are less formal. Sometimes they do not have the same enforcing power as laws, but to a certain degree it has. These are basic differences. But every answer has an aspect that you have to reach to a core issue. You can write peripheral things, this and that and that and this, and that will fetch you average marks. But understand that every paper has a syllabus, every syllabus has a theory. And this exam is testing you on the theory. Understand, syllabus, whenever a syllabus is given for something, the test is of the syllabus. These questions are means to test you. Test you on what? Test you on syllabus. They want to know you know the syllabus or not. They don't want to know if you know everything. They don't want to know your general ideas. They want to know simple thing, you have covered the syllabus or not. It is as simple as that. So somehow you have to go to the core part of the syllabus and present that in your answer. This is generally that we don't do. We don't even realize that it is needed to be done. Laws and rules, this is a simple question, but you have to touch on the core of laws and rules. How do you do that? You can do that if you know the core theory of this paper. If you don't know, you will write certain general things and you will not get marks. See, we'll begin answering this question, and I want your participation. You give me certain points regarding difference in laws and rules. and then we'll build it up from there. Can you start? Can somebody? Yes, Mr. A. You can mute yourself and tell me. Okay, it seems like there's some problem. I'll tell you myself. Let's begin. Anuj, you want to answer? You please unmute yourself. And go ahead, ask your question.
Yes, sir. I would like to mention that laws have certain punishment associated with them,
yes,
but it is not generally the same with rules.
Yes.
I mean, laws are enforceable by courts and you get punished if you do not follow them or if you break, but that is not the case with rules.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is correct. Can you give me an example? I'll give you an example. See, you must be aware of rules that Government of India give for environment impact assessment. Are you aware? The ministry keeps on coming with notifications and different guidelines and rules.
Yes, sir.
You know
like
the original
NGT and all.
law under which those rules are made? Which is the law?
Environment Act, certain Environment Acts are there.
It is, yes. It is Environment Protection Act 1986, right?
Yeah.
You might be aware that presently there's a bill pending in Parliament. It has been cleared by Lok Sabha, but I guess it's pending in Rajya Sabha regarding termination of pregnancy. It's an amendment bill to the original act. In that, there is a clause that certain category of women will be exempted and they will be given the permission to terminate pregnancy even after 28 weeks. Ordinarily, it will be 28 weeks, but certain category will be exempted even after 28 weeks. But that is not mentioned what will be that category of women. The law initially does not keep everything watertight, closed, compact, absolute. It gives a lot of freedom to the administrator to make rules, to the executive, to make rules according to the situation and context. Right? You know the difference. You have told me the difference. Bang on, correct. That is the difference. Laws are more strict. They are more absolute in nature. They are interpreted uniquely. Generally, a good law is one that is interpreted uniquely. So the language has to be very clear. There should not be any misinterpretation or more. Okay? Right? But rules, but the rules are not absolute in nature. And rules are more informal. For example, I can also make a rule here. When I'm taking this session, I made the rule that initially I will speak. First, I'll teach you this and this and this and this. Then I'll give you the answer. And then at the end, I'll give you the chance to ask question. This is the rule that I set. And I can enforce this rule in this capacity. All of a sudden, I started to feel powerful. I'm a ruler. I have my own rules. And I can enforce that rule. Rules are generally made by individuals and institutions. And on that level, it is enforced. Okay? That is a basic difference. You are done with the basics, the peripheral issues. Now, I want to teach you this, the core issue. This is not the theory of this paper. You have not used any theory of this paper. Have you? No. But you cannot go away without mentioning the theory of the paper. Otherwise, this paper would not have been any different from GS1, GS2, right? Understand, when UPSC has made 4 different GS paper, you have to bring 4 different flavor. If you fail to do that, you will fail to get marks. If you write simple answer, basically you will realize that everything that you learned in the class, whatever was there in your notes, and whatever you learned through mains test series, everything is aside. Sab वैसे के वैसे ही रह जाता है. And in the exam, you write something general. That is not how it has to go about. Whatever philosophy, whatever theory you study, even if that is not asked, that has to be used in the answer. In this paper, you have a very important idea, philosophy or theory of moral absolutism? UPSC has asked about it many, many times. Moral absolutism. And there's a concept of moral relativism. The debate is whether laws have to be unique, whether the morality standards, ethical standards, have to be unique. Everyone has to follow that. Or it can change with time, it can change with context, it can change with people, it can change with space. When whatever is moral here in India may not be moral in other countries. In other countries, actually, it's very moral, it's okay, nothing wrong in living relationship. But in India, many people will raise eyebrows if they know that you are in a living relationship, right? So the morality standards are different. So this is a theory where the laws have to be absolute, the standards of morality and ethics have to be absolute, or you will give some elbow room for maneuvering to fit to the local context, to the situation. You will go with moral relativism, or you will enforce it all. This is a core theory of this paper. Laws are made in a way that are uniquely interpreted. You will not interpret one law as differently, I will interpret as differently than how the courts will interpret and how they will give judgment. Laws are always interpreted uniquely. That caters to the demand of moral absolutism, that certain things everybody have to follow. You have to pay your taxes, you have to respect women, and you have to follow environmental norms. This has to be followed by everybody. There is no compromise on this. But you can choose your dressing style, you can choose your food habits. Those things are compromisable. And rules actually caters to that thing. In certain offices, non-veg are not allowed. Certain offices allow it. That depends on the context. That depends upon the situation. You understand? Whatever is given to you, you have to relate with theory. That is the main thing of answer writing. That is what I wanted to convey. Apart from that, you have to enrich your answer. For example, in the syllabus, you study many thinkers. You'll study many Indian thinkers, Western thinkers, but many times question will not come directly on them. So what? Is it a waste? No. That forms part of your answer writing. For example, in this answer, you can mention that the second part of the question does discuss the role of ethics in formulating them, meaning the role of ethics in formulating laws and rules. Actually, laws are subset of ethics, and laws are based on moral principles. You can simply write that, or you can write that this has been said by Thomas Hobbes. That will add value to your answer. Thomas Hobbes is a very important philosopher who initiated the theory of social contract. You study that, you can use it here. Similarly, you can use other real politic philosopher like St. Thomas Aquinas. He said, law is an ordinance of reason for the common good, promulgated by him who care for the society. Promulgated by him who care for the society. Means he has ethical competence. So they are asking the role of ethics in law. You can say this, that ethics forms the basis of law. Ethics is the foundation for law. And law only works when people with ethical competence, imbibing ethical principle, they promulgate it. This is the role of ethics. This is how ethics influences formation of laws and rules. And then you can give a suitable conclusion. So the point is that you have to relate every question with whatever you have studied. Nothing is going to go waste. And this will come with practice. The fourth component of compass. You have to do answer writing practice. If you are not doing it, know for sure you are going directionless, or you will meet a lot of hurdles, or you will not complete your journey on time. Right? This is another question that I want to discuss with you. Here also, I'll teach you something very important. What are the main factors responsible for gender inequality in India? And then separately, we'll discuss the second part, the contribution of Savitribai Phule in this regard. Now, I want your participation. First, you will give me certain points, and then we will build it up from there. What are the main factors responsible for gender inequality? Come on, go. Give me the factors. Kranti, you can please speak. Unmute yourself and speak. Deepak, you can please speak. Unmute yourself and speak.
The patriarchal societal nature of India.
Very good. Go on, go on. Give me as many points as you can. Patriarchy.
Gender inequality. So basically, it contributes mostly to all the factors.
Yes, patriarchy is a point given by you. Very good. Karthik, Sunil, can you please give me another point? Please unmute yourself, speak fast. Patriarchy is a reason why there is gender inequality in India. Very good. Can you think of some other points that is leading to gender inequality in India? Samriddhi, can you speak? Mr. Vinay, can you unmute yourself and speak?
Yeah, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sir, I will say proper lack of infrastructure facilities in schools and lack of security. Yes, sir.
It's an important point. Generally in schools, they don't have girls' toilet. And that is one of the important reasons why girls start skipping schools and ultimately get out of school. Infrastructure.
Sir, and preference for male child.
Preference for male child.
Male child.
Bias.
And lack of social security benefits for old age people, sir. So they
lack
prefer
of social security.
Yes, sir. For old parents.
Okay, you have given me enough points. Let us give chance to somebody else. Praveen, do you have certain other points that have not been given already?
Yes, sir. We can say not providing equal rights.
Not providing equal rights, yes. But the reason, why?
Because there are like discrimination on basis of job profiles, discrimination of ceilings, so we can say.
Discrimination. There is discrimination. Okay. Palak, can you give me a point that has not been given already?
Yes, sir. I want to say that the economic dependence of a woman on the male partner, and another point will be the inherent responsibilities that are associated with women that is not considered. Definitely a point of discrimination that is not associated with a man.
Absolutely. Point taken. Absolutely correct. Deepshika, do you have something to share?
Yes, sir. Sir, the nature of the mindset of the people, the women are always thought to be taking care of family and bringing up child.
Yes,
so there's
mindset,
a constant
patriarchal mindset.
Yes, sir, patriarchal mindset, and we can also say it is the family pressures also that always puts a pressure to women to retreat from workforce.
Okay. So discrimination,
family pressures,
biasness, mindset. Okay.
Mindset, yes, sir. Behavior, yes.
Okay, we'll take just few more. Zora, can you speak up if you have something? I'll have to unmute from here. No?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Zora.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
So there's like unequal division of work and labor first, and there is like the process of socialization where the work role has already been assigned from the very beginning that girls is supposed to.
Roles will be defined already.
Yeah, major function is rearing and childbearing and to stay at home. And then there's an equal division. Then there is in the work, when it comes to work also, the women are given less opportunity because the employer have lack of confidence in them. And then there comes gender play, lack of
there is discrimination.
Discrimination. And there is lack of awareness and sensitivity also among people. And women are also patriarchal. It's not only the male, but the patriarchy is vested in terms of power, and women are also patriarchal. So the women are
also patriarchal. That is a good point you are mentioning.
Yeah, and the women are themselves are not sensitized also. So
all right. Fine. Sensitivity, they are not sensitized. Awareness. Right. Thank you, Zora. Thank you, everybody, for participating. Now, the thing is that certain points I will not take. I will not take this economic dependence. I will not take this point of infrastructure. Why? Why will I not take? Because this is not catering to this paper. If I would have been writing gender inequality in paper 3, I will start with this. There is economic dependence. I'll give you some data from economic survey or somewhere else that women in India, less than 5%, own immovable asset. So that point would have been proven. I would have taken this point. Infrastructure, I would have mentioned in smart cities, even in smart cities, infrastructure is not women friendly. Safety issue is there. I'll write this. Krishi facility is not available. And I'll say that employer differentiate for on women employees and so on and so forth. I'll mention all of that, but not in paper 4. That is not suitable for this paper. This is what you have to understand. And this is what most of us fail to understand. See, this is not the test of what you know. This is not the test of what general opinion you have, that you can give an essay. This is a test of one and one thing. Not get this embedded in your mind for once and for all. This is the test of whether you know the syllabus or not. Nothing more than that. You can give me economic data, much and many economic data in this paper, that will not count. That will not count. But whatever you will be telling will be correct. That will not be suitable. You understand? This is what you have to understand. You don't have to write whatever you know. You have to make it suitable for the paper. Ultimately, you have to tell the examiner that you did your syllabus and you know your syllabus. If you can show that, you will get marks. If you cannot show that, you will not get marks. The syllabus has been given to you for a purpose. You understand that. As soon as you understand, sooner you understand will be better for you. Otherwise, you will write something which will all be correct, but will not be suitable. You will not get marks and you will not understand why you're not getting marks. I will give you my answer. Summon all your attention, your zeal, your alertness, and see how I have written the answer carefully. For anything and everything, the reasons are asked if. You have to go about answering the reason like this. Whether it is gender inequality, or there is caste discrimination, or there is religious discrimination, or there's discrimination for countries, any kind of discrimination, any kind of negative behavior will emanate from these things. These reasons will not change if the behavior, negative behavior is changing. Any negative behavior flows out from basic things. And this is where your answer will make a difference. This is where you will show that you know the syllabus goddamn well. See, first and foremost thing, what human beings learn is cognition. When you are born as a biological entity. When you socialize, you become a social entity. In the process, you pick up information from your society around you. You read books, you hear things, you learn many things. That becomes your cognition. If the cognition is wrong, then the behavior will be wrong. For example, if somebody has taught you, as somebody tells that women are also patriarchal, and your mother is discriminating against your sister, you are sent to, and your sister is sent to a local Vasavala school. Then you see that discrimination happening in your home. You learn that, you pick that. That goes into your conscience, that become part of your cognition, that females cannot perform work like males. If the cognition is wrong, behavior is wrong. If you have asked the reason why there is gender equality, because people are holding wrong cognition. They think कि छोरी छोरों के जैसा काम नहीं कर सकती. You have seen that movie, Amir Khan. हमारी छोरी छोरों से कम है के, right? You have to improve the cognition. Unless you hit on that, you will not change the behavior. So if you're asked to give reason why there is a wrong behavior, you have to go in the root of that, and the root is in the cognition that all of us are carrying. After cognition comes emotion. Emotion means emotion gives rise to values. There are certain things with which emotion is attached. Then you become attached with it. You start to value it. That becomes your value. If there is absence of positive values like empathy and compassion, if you do not understand, if you don't feel for the suffering of women, for the suffering of household women who have to go for long distances to fetch water, to fetch firewoods, who are having impact on their health because they are working on chulhas, not on LPGs. If you do not understand these things, it's not going to make any goddamn difference for you. If you do not understand the aspiration of a girl child, you will not be motivated to send them to schools, to colleges. You will not support them in their career. The third thing is attitude. Some people have misogynistic attitude. They hate women employees if they have as colleagues. They think that they are eating up their jobs and males are more suitable. If you have developed this kind of attitude, then that will result in a negative behavior. After World War, during World War, all the men were busy at the borders fighting wars. When they came back, they found that the factories were filled by women and women have taken up all their jobs. They wanted to get rid of women. And from there began the misogynistic tendencies, hatred towards women employees. If you have that kind of attitude, that will result in inequality. If you do not have fully developed conscience, in your syllabus, it is mentioned conscience as source of ethical guidance. Now, discrimination leading to inequality is not ethical. Nobody will consider that ethical. But if that is happening, that means people are doing it and they are not realizing. That means their conscience is not developed. They are ethically blind. These are the reasons. These are the reasons why there is inequality. You understood? You understood? These are the internal reasons coming from within. But there are certain things coming outside you, which is society. If there is no social influence, then the behavior will not be corrected. In certain society, you will see it's okay to discriminate on women. It is okay to make the women sit on the back seat. All the decisions are taken by male members. In your home too, you might have felt this. Decisions are taken by father. Women are kept in the back seat. In certain society, it is encouraged that you take women hand in hand. You might have seen outside home of few people in their name plate. Apart from their name, they add their wife's name, the spouse name. This is encouraged in certain society, that you involve your spouse in decision making. If this is encouraged in the society, you will also do it. That means if there is ethical ecosystem, you will be imbibing those values from the society. So even if you are not having it within, you will behave accordingly without. So both internal and external reasons are responsible. This is how you will go about writing answer to this question. This is how you structure. This has a structure because you began from the basic thing, cognition, then emotion, then attitude, then conscience. And you gave internal reason, external reason separately. Very good structured, very high value addition. And you are close to the syllabus. That is what is most important. If you learn to do it in every answer, you will score very high marks in GS. Generally, marks are less because there is a failure of realization of this, that there is a specific demand of answer writing. You cannot just simply put out everything you know. You have to write according to the syllabus, and you have to structure that. And you have to write in word limit, and you have to write in time limit. That requires a lot of practice, dude. The second part of the question is, discuss the contribution of Savitri Bai Phule. Now, I exactly do not know the contribution in detail. I'm aware of basic things that she did. It is very likely that if you have attempted this question this time Mains, you would not be aware of her contribution. But you do not have to leave questions like this. You have to write certain things that seems logical, and obviously she must have done that. Second part of the question has to be linked with first part of the question. You will not write the second part of the question in isolation. See, the reasons that we are giving in the first part, these are the reasons for discrimination. If Savitri Bai Phule has done something to get rid of gender inequality, she must have touched on these things. Otherwise, how will you get rid of it? What she did is she corrected the misconception. Cognition. People carry wrong cognition that girl child cannot perform like boy's child. That is why they have male child preference. She corrected it. She said, if a pair has no child, it would be unkind to charge a woman with barrenness. This is still prevalent. In villages, if you see that if a couple is not having any child, then they start blaming the wife. As a student of science, this much biology everybody has done, and you have to cover this in civil service for prelims also. You know X chromosomes, Y chromosomes, and female's chromosome is what, XX or XY? And that chromosome comes from male or female? Male. The female chromosome actually comes from male. So if a female is born, that is the, if you look that way, that was the job of male. Husband did it. Husband gave the chromosome accordingly that a female was born. So if a female is born, wife is not to be blamed. Blame must go, if at all, to the husband. Similarly, impotency is more common in male. If a child is not getting born, male is responsible, not female. So this is what? This is information. This is knowledge. This is where behavior begins from. So you have to correct the cognition of people. And she did exactly that. This is how you have to answer. Then you have to touch on other things, like she did a lot of things for education, and she did a lot of things to improve the social influence and ethical ecosystem of the society. How can you do that? You involve people, make a team, do something for charity, do some rehabilitative work. That's how you improve the ethical ecosystem. And she did that. Actually, she did that. Even if you don't know, you can write that, because this is generally the social reformers will do. Okay? So this is it. This is how you will go about writing the answer. I hope it must have given you a lot of insight as to you cannot write anything in the answer. Now we will go to the case studies. Part A is done. You have good amount of insight for answer writing in part A. Case study altogether is a different thing. Little different, because answers is still you do in a GS 1, 2, and 3 for 150 words. But this case is unique to this paper. It requires a slightly different approach. Is there anyone who has not read the case? Then I'll read the entire case. Otherwise, I'll start the discussion directly. Any one of you want me to go through the case? Okay, I'll go through the case. You listen to me very carefully what the case is if you don't know this case already. I will read the case. I will identify the ethical situation. Just see my line of thinking, what I'm doing when I'm reading the case and how I am analyzing it. You have to do the same for every case, every time. The case is this. You are a municipal commissioner of a large city. The first thing any case you have to do, you have to identify what are you. Who are you in the case? What is your position? If you are a municipal commissioner, you are in a powerful position. With power comes responsibility. So this position entails some responsibility, and that will be used in the case. Every bit of information that is given in the case is important. Nothing has been mentioned for nothing. Remember that. Generally, you focus on the main issues and you miss on the peripheral issues, and you miss on the marks. Everything has to be noted. First thing, you are a municipal commissioner of a large city having a reputation of very honest and upright officer. You are honest and upright. That is important, because if you are honest and upright and you have that reputation, and if you don't do work with honesty, then you will have crisis of conscience. Your inner conscience will be niggling you, eating you up. You will not feel comfortable. If you were not honest and upright, there are people who do corruption every now and then, and they remain very happy. चेहरे पे जरा भी शिकन नहीं आती, right? So it is mentioned you have a reputation of very honest and upright officer. This has to be noted, has to be used in the answer writing. Going ahead, a huge multi-purpose mall is under construction in your city, in which a large number of daily wage earners are employed. One night during monsoon, a big chunk of the roof collapsed, causing instant death of 4 laborers, including 2 minors. Very sad. Many more were seriously injured, requiring immediate medical attention. This mishap resulted in a big hue and cry, forcing the government to institute an inquiry. What happens in the inquiry? Your preliminary inquiry has revealed a series of anomalies. The material used for the construction was of poor quality. Despite the approved building plans permitting only 1 basement, they made 2 basements. They overlooked, and the inspector also overlooked the entire thing during inspection. The permission was not there because the building was constructed in green signals zone, but that was also overlooked. The permission to construct the mall was accorded by the previous municipal commissioner, but he is your senior and he is your friend as well. Prima facie, the case appears to be of widespread nexus between officers of the municipal corporation and the builders, and the politician will also be coming in. Your colleagues are putting pressure on you to go slow on the inquiry and hush things up. The builder who is rich and influential happens to be close relative of a powerful minister in the state cabinet. He's going to create trouble. The builder is persuading you to hush things up and promising you a fortune to do that. But the worst part is coming now. He also hinted that if this matter is not resolved at the earliest in his favor, there is somebody in his office who is waiting to file a case under the POSH Act. POSH Act is what? Prevention of Sexual Harassment Act. Very dangerous. It can eat up all the reputation you have earned. Media will eat you like termite if you are accused under this case. The question is, discuss the ethical issues involved in the case. You understood the case. What is the case? The case is that you are the municipal commissioner and there was a nexus among the builders and the bureaucrats and the politicians, and they messed it up. They made the building in the green zone, had the permission for one basement, made the two basement, everything collapsed, substandard material, and people died. Now, there are certain things when you read a case you have to highlight while reading. Do you know what is the word, in how many words this case has been written? Find out. Find out. Copy the case, paste it on Word somewhere, find out in how many words this case has been written. What is the word, number of words in which this question has come to you? Some of the cases in this year paper are in 430 words. The question is of 430 words and you have to answer in 250 words. And that is a great deal of a challenge. In 430 words, there will be so much of information and you have to grasp that in one reading. If you go for a second reading, you will waste too much of time. Then forget that you are going to complete paper. Your comprehensive skill has to be very, very strong. So when you are reading, you have to underline the important things. You don't have to come twice. There is no time for that. So read slowly at your own pace, underline the important things, and start your answer. Here, these are the important things. You are the municipal commissioner. This is important. You are a municipal commissioner. That means that you have certain responsibility. Then your reputation is at stake. You're an honest and upright officer. Then you have to see that death of laborers have happened, including 2 minors. Many have got injured. There is an issue of justice. Somebody has been wronged. You agree? So justice must be delivered to the culprits. There is a big issue of justice here. So if you hush things up, then you will cause injustice to these people. This is an important thing, that people have died. Then in the preliminary inquiry, it has revealed that there are a series of anomalies. Now you cannot close it up. If you have finding, roots, threads, that there is a case of corruption, you have to go about doing it. You have to show courage. You have to stand. You have to show uprightness. You have to show spines. You have to prove that bureaucracy is the steel frame of the nation. You have to follow the civil service attitude, follow the values of constitution. You cannot stop here, right? This is important. Then you have to, the other things are that the poor quality of material was used, and then there was nexus, permission was not there. So there is lapse on the part of regulatory authorities as well. And then here comes the next part, that the person who gave all these permissions perhaps or was involved was your senior and good friend. Okay, then comes the dilemma that you are under pressure. How will you manage things under pressure using emotional intelligence and values of courage? And then the third thing is that you are being threatened with getting accused by POSH Act. That is a big deal for anyone. If you get accused under Prevention of Sexual Harassment Act, it's a big deal for people who are reputed, because all the reputation will be gone in a jiffy. So these are the important things that you have to touch on. And when you write the answer, you must cover these things. This is step number 1. Read the case, understand the important aspect. Highlight them in the first reading itself. Now, before I give you the solution, I want to teach you one thing. Case studies actually deals with certain ethical questions, certain dilemma. The ethical dilemmas are not too many. Remember this. This is where you are at advantage and you have leverage, not the UPSC. This is a big, big leverage for you, that ethical situations do not exist in plenty. You will face that again and again, but you will face the same kind of dilemma. You as a student might face this dilemma whether to give your notes that you have made very, very diligently with a lot of hard work to your friends or not. You will face this dilemma again and again to give to A or B or C or D or E, but the dilemma will remain the same. In real life, the dilemma that we face are not too many. We face it multiple times, but dilemma are not in plenty. And that is your leverage. See, UPSC keep on asking the same ethical questions, same kind of ethical dilemma again and again, just to show you a little bit of it. This is a case of 2017. Pay attention. The case was a building permitted for 3 floors was being extended illegally to 6 floors. Here the permission was for 1 basement, they made 2 basements. The building collapsed here, building also collapsed here, people died here, people also died here, including women and children. They've also mentioned here that minor died. These laborers and migrants of different states, different places. The government immediately announced cash relief to the aggrieved families and arrested the builder. Give reason for such incident taking place. The case is almost same, that something has gone wrong, something subpar must have been used, construction material or nexus must be there. The case stops here, is a small case, but the initial analysis of the case that you will do for this case is similar to the one that was given in 2017. Now see this case of 2015. Just read what is in bold. A retaliatory measure. As a retaliatory measure, these troublemakers instigated a woman employee among them to file a complaint of sexual harassment against you with the Women's Commission. This was a case of false accusation under the POSH Act, 2015. The case that you have now, again, you have the same kind of threat to get accused, become accused under POSH Act. Same. You understand? The kind of dilemma that you will have, the kind of ethical situation that you will be put into will not be plenty. And this is why the case studies are the easiest section of your entire main syllabus. If you do 8 to 9 kind of cases, you will be ready to face any kind of case that UPSC throws at you. Now coming to the original case of this year. First question is, discuss the ethical issues involved in the case. I will give you the answer to this, but the point I'm trying to make is, if you have done the previous cases, you will handle this. Then the next question is, what are the options available to you? You understand the case situation very well. Now let's look at this case. The same case that I have shown you. Here, the UPSC in the beginning, when the paper was started in 13, 14, even till 16, UPSC itself used to give option, and you were asked to choose the option. Now UPSC has stopped that. UPSC is asking you to generate option on your own. But previously, UPSC used to give option by its own. See, in this case, UPSC has given you 3 options. Give your explanation to the commission and go soft on the disciplinary action. So that can become one of your options for this case also, to hush things up, go soft on investigation, and let the matter pass. Same. The option that was given by UPSC, you can make that as your option. The second option UPSC gave in this case, ignore the commission and proceed firmly with the disciplinary action. So in the case of 2020, you can make this as your option to go firm on investigation and ensure that justice is delivered. You can make that as option. The third option here is brief your higher ups, seek directions from them, and act accordingly. So you can make this option for this case as well. Now here you are having lots of pressure from all sides. You don't know what to do. That could become your third option, that you take the suggestions of your higher ups and do as you do. Do as they say. That will reduce your dilemma, your crisis of conscience. If they ask you to hush things up, if they ask you to go soft on investigation, you might have less dilemma, less crisis of conscience because your superior is asking you. But then you will not fulfill your civil service duty. That could become your 3 options. You will discard that on that basis and choose the best option to go firmly with investigation so that justice is delivered. Justice is the most important thing in our society. If you have read the preamble of India, you would know it begins from the value of justice. And then comes other things, equality, fraternity, right? So the final lesson of the session is this. I am going to give you the answer to this case, explain you how to go about, and then I'll take your questions. I hope you're not tired yet, right? Energetic? Good. See, they asked you the ethical issues, and here I have given the ethical issues. This will come with practice, but I'm going to give you a taste how to write the ethical issues. Ethical issues will be made right in the beginning. I asked you to highlight things. This is what you do when you read a case. When you have highlighted things, from there you will be picking up ethical issues. It will come naturally. If there is something important, there will be some ethical issue involved in that. For example, you take any point from here. Before going into the answer, you are a municipal commissioner and you have a reputation. The ethical issue is that your reputation is at stake. Your dignity is at stake. That is one ethical issue in the case. Then you go ahead. Death of 4 laborers, including 2 minors. What is the ethical issue in this? Justice. Justice must be delivered to the victims, to the family of victims. That is the ethical issue. The third highlighted thing you see, preliminary inquiry has revealed a series of anomalies. There could be ethical issue here that as a bureaucrat who's honest and upright, I must show my value of courage and take up the investigation further. Then there are other things. We will talk about the bureaucratic, corporate, political nexus, lack of probity because of that, lack of values in the bureaucratic system, in the political system. You'll write about that. And then you will keep on going on. So this is easy. Whatever you have highlighted, you will pick issues from that. But the challenge is to use language of the paper, terminologies from the syllabus. That is why it is the beginning of everything. You have to know the syllabus very well. Otherwise, you will write something in plain English. And that will not impress the examiner. All right. This is my answer. The ethical issue is, first of all, negative emotion. You must have learned in this 2 hours that this is where things begin. Cognition, emotion, value, attitude, behavior. And the cycle goes on and on for every answer, every question. Negative emotion of greed. We have talked about in part A that how negative emotion leads to negative behavior. We talked about that case of hate. Then we saw anger, intolerance, and greed. Everything begins in this kind of, all kind of corruption. Corruption like this begins in the emotion of greed. You have to touch on the root. Because of greed, people are doing this. Because of greed, to save money, they are using substandard material. And because of lack of value of empathy and compassion, they don't care a damn about the laborers, about people who might be killed, get injured. There's a negative emotion of greed, and there is absence of positive emotion of empathy, compassion. That is the basic problem. Then there are problems with lack of dedication among the regulators, among the politicians, among the bureaucrats involved. They are not doing their job diligently. There is ethical blindness. Everybody is overlooking whatever wrong is happening. There is wrong cognition that many people have. Builders think that little bit of corruption is not wrong because everybody is doing it. So what is wrong if you are doing it? This is a cognition that most of us carry. If others are doing it, then we think that we are entitled to do it. That is a wrong cognition. Because of that, there is a wrong attitude. People start to circumvent law, get around the law, beat the system, bribe the politicians, get them in their pockets. That is a wrong attitude of circumventing the law. Then there's a topic mentioned in the syllabus. Because there was no direct question on this, I did not show you. But if you look in the syllabus, you will find this very important topic, probity. Probity is a very important concept in civil services, bureaucracy, administration, governance, probity. So you have to bring those things up when you write the answer. There is absence of probity because there is politico-bureaucratic corporate nexus. And then about you, don't forget yourself. When you write the ethical issues, don't forget yourself. You are a stakeholder in the case. For you, there is a challenge faced by you in discharging your duty. The system is putting pressure on you. The system is not conducive for ethical conduct of an honest officer. This is a big ethical issue. These are more or less the important ethical issues in the case. You have to go wide, very, very wide, think from all dimensions when you are writing ethical issues. There will be many information in the case, and you have to capture on all of them. Then you will get 14 to 15 marks in 20. Otherwise, 6, 6.5, utna hi. This is the first part of the case. The second part of the case is, what are the options available to you? I showed this already to you. I have picked this option from UPSC's options of previous year's question. That is the second component of your compass. That is how you learn. That is how you prepare. I would either go soft on the builders, hush up the investigation, or I'll go firmly, proceed with the case and bring justice, or I'll take the help and advice of the superiors and do as they ask me to do. These are broadly 3 things that you can do. And then you have to choose. I will choose, or any one of you will surely choose option number 2, to proceed firmly with the investigation. You will not get any marks for that. Marks will only and only be given for justification. Why are you choosing this option? And here, all the things, philosophers and thinkers and theory and principles and ethics and morality, whatever you have studied, this is your chance to show the examiner that you are done with your syllabus. You know your syllabus pretty damn good. And you have to use the theory. Do not write things general. Do not try to use the knowledge of GS 1, 2, 3 and apply here. This is a separate paper with separate syllabus. If you do not understand that, you will face trouble. The answer that I have given is this. I'll just show you, and then you can learn, get trained, and help yourself in the rest of your journey. First is, I will complete the investigation process with integrity. Integrity mentioned in your syllabus. It's an important terminology I have used in the answer. The investigation report shall be forwarded to all stakeholders within the department. I shall not be intimidated by any covert or subvert threat. My action will be guided by call of duty, constitutional and civil service values. Civil service values is there in your syllabus, and there are various values mentioned. You can mention few values here. I have mentioned a value called as courage. It is considered to be the pivotal value. Without courage, you cannot express other values. It is extremely important in this case when you are pressurized from our side, you hinge on to this value of courage for civil services. Then I have used philosophies. People forget to do it. You have done moral philosophers and thinkers, but you don't use that in the answer. What is the point of studying that? When you do Socrates, you study that Socrates has taught us to speak truth to power. Meaning you speak truth, you be correct, even with powerful people, you do not get intimidated. You reason with them and you show courage. This is a very important teaching of Socrates. And you just as a municipal commissioner, your fight is with the state cabinet minister and the powerful builders and everybody, see your senior in your department. You are surrounded by powerful people. You have to take refuge in what Socrates taught you to speak truth to power, right? There are other things. You as a head of your department, as a municipal commissioner, is responsible for work culture. If you open up your syllabus, you will find mention of work culture in your syllabus. If you are studying with the syllabus, have a look. Work culture is mentioned in your syllabus, but no question has been asked on work culture. But this case is related with work culture. Whenever you are a head of the organization, your responsibility is to maintain the work culture of your organization. Here you are the head, this point should automatically come. Now, if you are bowing down under pressure, what message will you send for your subordinate officers? It is your goddamn responsibility to maintain a healthy work culture of your organization. You will touch this in your answer. Then there are other things that it is your responsibility. You can use other philosophers I have used a lot. For example, Immanuel Kant, if you have studied him, he said that there are certain imperatives on human beings. He coined the phrase as categorical imperatives. You have to do what is right no matter what is the situation. Right is right, right is always right, right thing has to be done no matter what. That is categorical imperative. So using categorical imperative of Immanuel Kant, even though you are under pressure, you have to perform your duty as a rational being, okay, as a moral being. Then honesty is morally uplifting. Psychologically, when you have spoken truth at some point of your life, under pressure, you must have felt good. Truth is so rare that speaking truth give you a feeling of accomplishment. When you're honest, that is psychologically liberating. It gives you happiness. So you will feel happy, and that is your personal gain. So that is another advantage. That is another reason why you will go with this step. I've given you many reasons. Then you have to conclude accordingly. You can also add the aspect of emotional intelligence. You know, Gandhiji, he used to do firefighting every day. conflict resolution among people, among leaders, among people of different community, different caste. Sometimes he used to get fed up by his job. Do you know what he used to do? He used to listen to a bhajan, but that was a one specific particular bhajan. Do you know what was that? Yes, Vaishnav Jan. That was the way he used to ease his pressure. That was the way he used to channelize his emotion. So you can mention this point of emotional intelligence. This is very important, very, very important. See, when your pressure will start to build up, you will start to get bogged down by that pressure. And that emotion of fear will come. To manage your emotion, it is very important that you use emotional intelligence. Whether you listen to bhajan, you do yoga, you get motivated by the suffering of poor, you go and meet the families of the victims who people have died, got injured, you'll get motivated. There will be various ways in which you can motivate yourself. But somehow you have to use some technique of emotional intelligence in this situation and not get bogged down by the pressure. At the end, I have mentioned that you can be inspired by the message inscribed in our emblem. Do you know that? Satyamevi Jate. Do you know the meaning? Truth alone triumphs. If you are on the honest path, in the long run, you will be the winner. So despite entire pressure, this is how you must go about. This is the reason why you should go firm on investigation to bring justice. This is very, very rich, and this is within word limit. This is the kind of model answer I've given you to give you a feel as to how you have to go about writing answer. You cannot write general things that will not impress anyone, and you will be given very, very average marks. This is how and what I plan to do with you. I hope I delivered it with all of my ability. Now what we'll do is, of course, we'll open up for the question answer session, and I'll take your question. If something is niggling you for long, this is the time that you can ask and feel easy. Okay, then I hope you learned something today, and it was a fruitful session. I really enjoyed interacting with you, delivering what I wanted. I feel satisfied. I hope you feel the same way. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Take care.
Subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so that you know when live we go.